Hello guys, we are back for game 4 of Rain vs Soulkey and the KSL 3rd, 4th place matches. These are unofficial stream matches, and right now in game 4, Soulkey's up 2-1. He's looking fantastic right now. The macro from Soulkey is outstanding. Rain has had pretty fantastic crisis management overall. He's been playing very, very well, but it just doesn't seem to be enough for Soulkey. Soulkey's macro, his mind games, and compositional changes have just been really overwhelming in quite a few of these games. So we're going to have to be able to see if Rain can stick it out once again, or if he's going to have to fall to Soulkey's overwhelming macro. This game is going to be on Fortress. Fortress, bit of an interesting map. Not something that we see very often. According to Wikipedia, it was one of the maps released as candidates for being used in the 2010 Shinhan Bank Pro League Round 4, but it wasn't selected. However, it returned later on when it was altered. So, very interesting map. Most important thing, I think, to note about this map is the corner expansions are kind of weird island expansions that can only be accessed by a worker. Because of the way that they're designed, they've got two gates that can be walked through. They can be mineral walked through by workers, but units can't get through there. You can't even really realistically glitch units through there. It's basically impossible. So the easiest way to get across there is by dropship. You have to have air units, you have to drop down. So we may see Rain go for something like going for the early Corsairs into a Reaver, do some Reaver drops and take the island expansions a la Bisu style. Whew, almost killing that drone. That would have been bad for Soulkey. Gonna go ahead and do the pylon block. This is something that Rain has been doing quite a lot in the series. I think it's actually a really good idea. Going for that pylon block very early on just causes so much problems for the Zerg player, especially if they're planning to take their natural there. They don't already have a drone in place elsewhere. It can be very, very annoying. So, Rain doing the smart thing, building that second cannon. He's actually going to cancel that pylon in the natural. He needs to be careful with this probe. He's getting some nice damage in, but gotta make sure not to lose that probe. The scouting probe is super important. Nexus going down now. The really interesting thing about Fortress is just how difficult it really is to actually take the third base. Like I said, you do kind of have the islands in the corners, but all of the other expansions are basically in the center of the map. So this is very much a Terran favored map. I think in many ways it's favored probably a little bit more towards the Zerg player going into the mid game, but a little bit better for Protoss later on. So what I kind of expect to see is Soulkey will probably go for some early control, and if he can just get early control of the middle of the map, kind of prevent Rain from ever actually moving out of his base with a whole bunch of lurkers, a whole bunch of Hydras and Lings, it can be very difficult for the Protoss to ever actually get on the map, aside from doing drops, which drops are pretty easy to counter if you're doing things pretty smartly with your Scourge and your Mutalisk. So it's going to be pretty standard opening for both players. It looks like 3 bases for Soulkey, taking the natural over on the right hand side. And Rain pretty much opening in the same exact way that he always does in this matchup. That is one of the nice things about Rain, is he's one of the most predictable players on Earth, I think. He just loves doing the same builds over and over and over. They're always safe builds. They're always good, solid builds. That's what's really nice about Rain. It's never... You never have a Rain build where you're like, well, he's doing something super tricky here. It's always something very standard because he feels very comfortably getting into that late game, getting into that macro mode. Does lose a pro, which is a little bit unfortunate, but he's going to be able to sneak this Zealot over here, and that's the more important part. Might be able to pick off a drone or two if Soulkey's not paying attention, but the drone pool is quick. Beautiful stuff. Gonna have to send over a couple lings to deal with that. Meanwhile, another Zealot gonna be going down to the natural, just trying to be annoying. What's nice about this is it splits Soulkey's attention. Is that a double Stargate? I take it back. Rain is a tricky man. Gotta be able to get that. Ooh, nice. Picking off the drone as well. So it's gonna be a double Stargate coming out from Rain. Now, the natural follow-up to double Stargate is going to be basically mass Zealots. You do this really weird sort of opening where it's like you get all of the Corsairs out, and it forces your opponent to do a lot of crazy stuff, and then you can kind of follow up with the mass ground and kill off all the Hydras that are there. But actually, looks like he might be going straight into the Reaver drops, like I said. He canceled the second Stargate. Wow. Okay. Seeing potential Hydra bust coming out, so he's actually going to cancel the second Stargate and just go mass cannons, go into the early Reavers. I think this is a very smart decision from him. He's probably going to lose this front wall, or at least some of it, but he's got lots of cannons, and once you get up to like 5 to 7 cannons, you're pretty safe from a Hydra bust. Like, the damage density just becomes too high to realistically get into the base. Did he finish +1? I don't know if he finished +1 on his Zealots, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, just scouting out with these Corsairs. I love that he still gets +1 and keeps making Corsairs. It's actually really beautiful the way that he does this. So, gonna try to snipe a couple of cannons as Soulkey does manage to kill off 2 of the cannons. That is going to significantly weaken the pressure for more Hydralisks later on. So these cannons have to be kind of continually rebuilt, especially since Rain doesn't have any gateways at the moment. Just going to be trying to hold on for dear life right now. And does go for the robotics bait pretty quickly, so it is going to be the Reaver follow-up. Wonder if he's going to go straight for the Reaver drops, or if he's just going to focus on using the Reaver to defend. Probably depends mostly on how Soulkey is willing to play this. Very nice, sniping 2 Overlords in the natural. Not much Soulkey can do about that. Hydras have a pretty low damage. Like, their DPS isn't that great. So, a couple more of these cannons going to be going down. It looks like he's just going to go ahead and expand to the top left. So, Rain doing a really good job, but you see that third base for Soulkey only has 1 or 2 drones there. That's actually a really big deal. That means that Soulkey really doesn't have much of an economy right now. He's kind of all in, and being this all in right now can cause some serious problems for him if Rain actually manages to stabilize and gets up this third base up in the top left-hand corner. And this is mostly cost-effective, being able to cancel these cannons. But eventually, Soulkey is going to have to address the fact that, you know, he doesn't have an economy back at home. He's got to continue making drones, but if he continues losing units to this pressure, he's not going to have any Lara to actually build drones and have defense back at home. So this is kind of all in at this point for Soulkey. He's kind of banking on trying to be able to break Rain, but Rain is safe now. Now with this Reaver, Rain really doesn't have much of a problem with the following bus. He's even got the shuttle, so he can do a little bit of shuttle micro. And yeah, it looks like these are just going to fall down. Another Reaver coming out right now. And this is pretty much held. I think at this point, Rain is feeling pretty comfortable with himself. He's got that third base coming up as well, so as long as he doesn't die in the next couple of minutes, he's going to be A-okay. Even cancels that cannon, so you can tell he's already feeling pretty confident in this defense. He knows he's held the worst of it. Just gonna go ahead and start the gateway explosion, start getting out some gateway units. Honestly, really impressive how well Rain held that with 0 gateways, just relying on the Reaver and cannons to actually get the damage out. Very nicely done. He's actually gonna go ahead and send the probes out across the map, knowing that his opponent can't stop it, and that's actually very nice. The only real follow-up to this for Soulkey at this point is he has to go for Overlord drops and just do something clever with his Hydralisks. At this point, it's pretty much over, especially with his third base now being saturated. At this point, I think Rain probably has more mining than Soulkey. Soulkey really invested a lot into actually getting this pressure, but he didn't get anything done other than killing a couple of cannons. And oh my gosh, 3 drones at the third base. This is more or less over for Soulkey. Rain just has to build up a strong ground army, and he can walk across the map and win the game. That's pretty much where we're at this point in time. He might do a couple of Reaver drops coming up pretty soon. We'll have to see. Or he may just go ahead and bring the Reavers with his main army to attack. Either way, this is a very comfortable place for Rain to be right now. Even going for the 4 High Templar opening, I don't think he morphed those into Archons either, so he's just going to have a ton of storms. It's going to be brutal. Very, very brutal. Sure, he's got an observatory coming along the way as well. Observatory is going to allow him to deal with any sort of a lurker container or anything like that. This is such a fantastic spot for Rain to be in right now. Very nicely played in the early game, and it looks like Soulkey's risk really didn't pay off. But the game's not over. Still much more to be had, but I think at this point it's just so much damage that's been done. It's, oh my gosh, it's pretty brutal. More and more gateways. We're up to, what is that, 9 gateways off of 3 bases. It's going to be so much production for Rain coming up very soon. Rain is doing such a fantastic job of also just scooting around and continually scouting his opponent, realizing where things are. This is just very nicely done, but whoop! Accidentally running into a whole bunch of Hydras there. I think he lost 1 or 2 of those units there, so gonna have to chill out a little bit, but he's got this huge ground army at this point. As long as he has an observer with this army, he can basically walk out. Oh, did he lose all of his... Oh no, he just lost 1 of the High Templar. I was afraid he lost all 4 of them. I was gonna have a heart attack, man. But I mean, even losing all 4 of those High Templar right now is not the end of the world. He's gonna have such a huge ground army that it almost doesn't matter. Like, it still does, but it almost doesn't. Having the Reavers here and just a huge number of Dragoons, he's in good shape. Usually, for your big ground army against Zerg, you want about 12.5 Dragoons. So, like, around, like, 15 to 20-ish. And then from there on, you're just pumping nothing but Zealot Archon and a couple of High Templar to go with it. Oh my god. Huge hits already on the probe line, and that's pretty much the nail in the coffin right now for Soulkey. The supply up now to 150. Very nice flanks coming out from Soulkey, really kind of abusing this open ground area, but there's just so much Protoss at this point. 150 supply, and Rain's just going to walk straight into the natural. There's nothing to really stop him right now. Couple of good storms going down, going to be able to kill the remaining units right here, and he's into the natural. He's got these Reavers, and this is just brutal. There's the GG. Well played by Rain. It's going to bring it to 2-2. We go to the ace match next.